The story begins on a battlefield where a lone woman is standing against one army surrounded by dead bodies. She wondered if it was the end. The enemy leader asked her to give up, but she was adamant to fight until the end. He proposed to let her live if she gave up now. She replied that killing would be better for those treasonists. Her enemy was her fiancé, who betrayed the imperial family. She was the final survivor of the Alpure imperial family. Her father, the emperor, was assassinated. Her brother, who was called the Trash Prince, became a sucker overnight. He was like that until his final moments, which was taken advantage of by his fiancée. She asked why he needed her alive. A hoodie woman behind the man replied that she has a responsibility to watch the empire's end. She was an occultist and her identity was only discovered after countless battles. It all made sense to her as it all started from the assassination attempt on the emperor on her brother's birthday banquet. They thought that the assassination attempt was a failure, but they were mistaken. There was a special poison on the assassin's knife. The name of the poison, which was created using the occultist power, was called the witch's tear. Because occult magic and witches disappeared from the world ages ago, there was no way for them to detect occult magic. It was an undetectable poison which would only activate when the maker wanted it to. She inquired whether the occultist was the reason behind her father's death and her brother's change. The occultist mentioned that it won't change anything by knowing it now. Her fiancé ordered and the soldiers moved forward toward her. Refusing to meet the end, she grabbed a necklace and decided to take a bet at that. The occultist was shocked to see that, which proved she knew its use. It was the memento of the first emperor. It was a ruby, which is said to give your wish if you give your life to it. If it succeeds, then great, but if it fails, it would save her from the humiliation fate of letting the treasonists take her life. Ignoring the occultist's scream, she thrust the sword to her neck. When she was dying, she heard a voice asking for her wish. She answered that she wanted to fix a mistake. When inquired what mistake was that, she replied that she was worried that she couldn't lead his brother in the right direction. If he stayed as the Trash Prince, he was, instead of turning into a sucker and puppet, she would have stayed with him even if he was the Trash Prince. The jewel accepted her wish. She was confused as she was just reminiscing about the past, but never expected it to grant that wish. Despite her shouting, the jewel proceeded with her wish. In the sunlight shining through the window, a maid called out, "Lady Regina." She woke up from her thinking. The maid asked with a doubt if the tea suited her taste. She was surprised and mentioned that she was just out of her mind thinking about something. As the princess of the Elias Empire, Regina B. Alpure regressed to when she was 15. At first, she wanted to run away without caring about the future. But she had to do at least a bare minimum of her responsibility as a royal. She decided to stop the assassination of the emperor and take care of the treasonists. When she was thinking, a loud noise was heard from outside. But the most important job of her was to discipline her trash brother. She got a club from her maid and decided to see her cute trash brother. In a bustling room, a group of maids hurriedly moved about. Regina's life had never known tranquility. After her delicate mother gave birth to her younger brother, she entrusted him to Regina's care and peacefully departed. The emperor, Regina's father, was prohibited by imperial law from entering the delivery room, leaving him unable to stand by his beloved wife during her final moments. Consumed by grief, he vented his anger on Regina, blaming her for being present during his wife's last breath. He shifted all the blame onto her and sought an easy way out. When the baby's cry reached his ears, he turned around and took the newborn, into his arms. Regina saw it as a blessing to shoulder the blame if it meant her father wouldn't hold accountable, considering he had just entered the world. The emperor, driven by love, overlooked all of Thur's mischievous actions, and he grew up to become a notorious misfit prince. Meanwhile, when Regina turned 12, her father called her for the first time. However, all he asked of her upon entering the room was to get engaged promptly. When she tried to address him as her father, he coldly reminded her that inside the room, he was the emperor and she was the princess, not a father and daughter. If she understood, he urged her to leave. The following day, a young man named Herman Silvage introduced himself. The Silvage ducal family, one of the empire's two powerful duchies, rivaled the emperor's authority. Left with no choice, Regina reluctantly accepted the engagement. Amidst her engagement, her mind remained preoccupied with Thur's mischievous acts. Time passed, and Thur was sent to the academy, where he continued his unruly behavior. Eventually, he was sent back home, feigning early graduation. However, a significant accident occurred on his journey back, a carriage mishap that sent it tumbling into a lake. Despite his shortcomings, Regina still loved him. Even without her mother's final words, she would have cherished him dearly. When he finally regained consciousness, Regina felt immense joy. Thur apologized for his past behavior, which took her by surprise. She attributed the change to the accident, believing he had a change of heart overnight. She was foolish to think that such a dramatic shift in attitude could happen so suddenly. She knew deep down that something was amiss, but it was too late to realize the truth. The real problem lay ahead. Thur transformed from an unrepentant misfit into the empire's biggest fool. He handed over all of the imperial family's wealth to swindlers without a second thought and disregarded Regina's opinions. She sensed that things were spiraling out of control, but she was powerless to stop it. On the eve of Thur's 17th birthday, the emperor met an untimely demise. Before Regina could even mourn her father's passing, she found herself shouldering the responsibility of regency in place of her brother, who had yet to come of age. Overwhelmed by a mountain of paperwork, she pondered how a seemingly healthy person could perish so suddenly. To make matters worse, her fiancé Herman became embroiled in rumors of infidelity. Amidst it all, she had to shield her brother, who grew increasingly foolish with each passing day. Regina resolved to endure until Thur ascended the throne. However, on the day of Thur's coming-of-age ceremony and coronation, Herman, her fiancé, beheaded him on the spot. Shocked and dismayed, Regina witnessed Herman declare the end of the Elias empires, causing an uprising. As she contemplated the future, her primary goal became thwarting the assassination and restoring order. But first, she needed to address her brother. She concluded that being a skilled tyrant was preferable to having a foolish emperor. When the head maid noticed Regina's uncharacteristically positive mood, she revealed that she had found a solution to a problem. Regina's other maid rejoiced upon hearing this, concerned for Regina's well-being over the past few days. Though Una initially hesitated to discuss it, Regina's knight acknowledged the genuine worry. Regina understood the cause of their concern and didn't hold it against them. Suddenly, the princess who had always been obedient to the emperor and protective of her brother began speaking of becoming a trashy princess. It was understandable why they were worried. As the maids breathed a sigh of relief, the door burst open, and Thur made his grand entrance. Without seeking her consent, he demanded that she hand over something she had acquired a few days ago. Regina remarked on his rude behavior, but Thur disregarded her words and cursed at her. She often wondered where he learned all those uncouth words, further fueling his anger. He knew she would ultimately give him what he wanted. Initially, she would feign kindness while scolding him, but in the end, she would always break down, begging at his feet. That was the Regina he knew. Although her recent behavior seemed peculiar, he expected her to calmly meet his gaze and then ignore him, just as before. He came to put her in her place. However, Regina couldn't help but notice the lack of grace in his words. Abundant with insults and threats. He wasn't yet acting like a drunkard, as there was a time when he set the castle ablaze while intoxicated. Back then, Regina had been deeply worried. She informed Thur that she had something to say, but he brushed her off with indifference. Thur was confident that she would comply with his wishes. And here was another characteristic of trash: he did whatever he pleased. Regina stated that his speech had lost its elegance, stooping to the level of a trash prince. She was certain she could do everything Thur did. Seizing a nearby chair, she flung it at him, startling everyone in the room. The emperor, concerned about the recent events, called for a meeting with her and Regina. He wanted to verify if the rumors were true. Did Regina really throw a chair at her brother? The emperor usually had two ways of meeting his children, through formal audiences or during meal times when the imperial family gathered. Regina found it strange that she was called for a meeting just because she threw a chair at their. She had always been denied an audience and her father paid her no attention during meals. It seemed like the perfect opportunity to show them that she had changed. When asked about the chair incident, Regina confirmed it but claimed that she threw it because it was near her. The emperor and they were taken aback by her response. In reality, Regina had wanted to throw the table, but it was too heavy, so she settled for the chair. The emperor tried to confirm if he had misheard, but Regina bluntly admitted to throwing the chair at her foolish brother. The first prince of the Elias Empire. The emperor dismissed it, believing there must be a deeper reason behind her actions. Regina questioned why her actions were being questioned when she had always been affected by their behavior. This shocked her. Witnessing this new side of his sister, Regina explained that she could no longer tolerate it, and that was her answer. She couldn't bear to walk on eggshells and ask for forgiveness when she had done nothing wrong. Determined to confront the matter, Regina asked her father why he hadn't done anything to guide her on the right path. This provoked her, and he abruptly left the room. Regina then asked her father if Thor was considered pitiful because he lost their mother at birth. The emperor grew angry at her question. The future ruler of the Elias Empire was still undecided, but before Regina regressed, Thor had become the next emperor following their deceased father's will, even though a rebellion ensued as soon as he took the throne. Regina pointed out that she, too, had lost her mother, and asked why her father didn't break the imperial law that could have been easily bypassed with his authority. The emperor mentioned that the law was not insignificant, to which Regina questioned why he hadn't broken it during his time as emperor. The emperor called her impertinent. But Regina believed it was better to be impertinent than incompetent. This was the first time Regina had confronted her father, and he was shaken by her words. Regina made it clear that she had no intention of succeeding the throne when it couldn't even disregard a sentence written on a mere piece of paper. Since her father didn't treat her as a daughter, she decided not to treat him as a father either. Embracing her newfound identity as a trash, she wasn't afraid to be immoral. From now on, she would treat him as an emperor. Regina informed her father that she had decided to live as she pleased and would eventually disappear on her own. However, things were different for her. She would continue taking care of him to ensure he became a proper emperor. She had a lot of work to do for her beloved brother. With her mind set on becoming trash, she set another goal, preventing Thor from becoming a fool and quelling the rebellion. After accomplishing those tasks, she planned to leave the capital and even relinquish her title as a member of the imperial family. As she prepared to leave, her shocked father called her by name, but she reminded him that in the room, they were the emperor and the princess, not a father and daughter. It was the same response he gave her when he made her engagement decision. Since Thor's swordsmanship instructor had been changed once again, Regina decided to join the class with him. With the emperor's permission, she left the hall. The emperor reminisced about how Regina had always called him father despite his treatment, but now she referred to him as emperor. He realized he had once again lost something precious to him. The following day, the emperor requested Regina's presence, but she declined, stating that she would soon feel unwell. She found it not amusing at all. Lately, he had been trying to partake in meals with them and even sought a greeting from her, which he always refused. There was nothing left to talk about between them. Regina prepared to attend the swordsmanship class, gazing at her reflection in the mirror. In the past, she cut her long hair, as it could become a weakness in battle. If it could be a weakness, she would become strong enough to compensate for it. Meanwhile, Aaron Vestine. The second son of the empire's second ducal household, the Vestiness, and the future Margrave of the East, arrived at the training grounds. Aaron, an 18-year-old with dashing looks and exceptional sword skills, was the new sword instructor for the He was popular among the ladies of high society and had received several marriage proposals, all of which he had rejected. Uninterested in high society, Aaron spent most of his time on the borders and rarely visited the capital. Regina needed someone to play the role of her lover for her plan of portraying herself as an infatuated trash princess. Herman, the traitor, was not an option. Una, one of Regina's maids, mentioned Aaron as a potential candidate. Although Regina hadn't met him in her past life, Una provided a glowing description of Aaron's skills and appearance. It seemed that no other instructors could handle as they had all given up on him. The Empire had no choice but to seek help from the Vestine Duchy. This presented a perfect opportunity for Regina. As the would be late for the training, she decided to strike a deal with Aaron. She remembered her night words from the past about how everything would have been different if she had learned swordsmanship 10 years earlier. Regina had gained not just 5 years but 10 years of time upon her return, and she hoped for a miracle. She believed that something would change, as Johann had said. As she started swinging the sword, Aaron arrived, a young blonde man with clear red ruby eyes. Regina was impressed by his beauty and wondered how his voice could be so mesmerizing. He exceeded the level of dashing that her maid had described. Aaron was the perfect candidate for her plan, and no one would suspect her intentions with a face like his. She decided to call it love at first sight. Standing there without accepting Aaron's greetings, she stumbled over her words, stating that he could do something wrong. Aaron asked if she was unwell, causing Regina to feel embarrassed and flustered. She collected herself and explained that she was just surprised. Aaron suggested she take a deep breath, a practice from his duchy, implying that Regina had unintentionally spoken her thoughts out loud. She hadn't anticipated blurting out her innermost musings. Regina wondered if it was truly necessary to make a deal with him and worried about what the future held, considering Aaron's drop-dead gorgeous appearance. However, she believed that with beauty of this magnitude, everyone would accept her reasons for canceling her engagement and her future actions. Resolute, she reminded herself of the past and apologized to Aaron for her past behavior. Aaron, impressed by how quickly she had recovered, complimented her. Regina asked him to meet her after their training session, and Aaron agreed to her request. She then instructed Una to fetch As Una left, Regina engaged in awkward small talk with Aaron about the training hall and the swords they would use. She found it difficult to have a normal conversation with him and wished she had taken more time to prepare herself for this encounter. She politely asked Aaron to wait for a moment while she went to fetch who was running late. Upon reaching their location, she found him engaged in a heated argument with 2 servants, demanding to know what they had been discussing earlier. Frustrated by the situation, Regina approached Una to inquire about the details which even Una didn't know. Seeing her, the servants had sought her aid. But she wanted to understand the reason before intervening. However, before the maid could speak, abruptly silenced her, adding to Regina's growing anger. Determined to get to the bottom of the matter, she insisted that the servants explain themselves, reminding that he had already kept her waiting for an extended period of time. To Regina's astonishment, the servants revealed that they had been discussing unsettling rumors about the imperial prince, who devoured his own mother. Such distressing gossip was unbearable for a 10-year-old like Expecting Regina to forgive the servants as she had done in the past, they begged for mercy. However, an unexpected turn of events ensued when Regina inquired about the whereabouts of the prince's imperial knight. The servant pointed towards a red-haired young man, introducing himself as Jesse Tarhan, the sword of the imperial prince. Witnessing Jesse's casual introduction, Regina couldn't fathom how he could maintain a carefree demeanor while people slandered the imperial family. She questioned him about his lack of action, to which Jesse expressed his difficulty in calming there and implementing appropriate measures as his personal knight. She wondered if it was how a knight should behave when there were people slandering their master's name. Realizing the mistake, Hib asked for forgiveness on the spot. Dissatisfied with Jesse's response, Regina demanded the presence of the Imperial Guards, leaving Thur in shock. She believed that Thur needed to develop the skills to handle such situations independently and become a competent leader in her absence. He should learn how to assert the right amount of anger and ensure obedience from those under his command. When the three servants pleaded for forgiveness, Regina corrected them, stating that it was not her forgiveness they needed but theirs. The three servants then turned to Thur, seeking his forgiveness. The sudden shift in events left Thur bewildered. Seizing the opportunity to impart a crucial lesson to Thur, Regina reminded him that he was the crown prince and causing a commotion alone wouldn't be sufficient to demonstrate the mistreatment he had endured. In future instances, he should expose the culprits, make their crimes known, and administer appropriate punishments. Thur admired his sister for a brief moment when she asked if his delaying was due to such trivial matters and ready to practice sword. Thur, attempting to appear unafraid, sought refuge behind his guard, trying to avoid his sister's impending disciplinary actions. The maids present decided to overlook this rather embarrassing incident. As the servants were handed over to the Imperial soldiers, Regina urged Thur to accompany her to the swordsmanship training, but he adamantly refused. Determined not to relent, she brandished her sword, prompting Jesse to swiftly carry Thur and flee the scene to spare him from further punishment against his wishes. Selma, one of the maids, worried about the potential spread of unpleasant rumors, but Regina reassured her that squashing rumors was a simple matter, punishing anyone who spoke ill would suffice. Before leaving, the lingering rumors of Thur's alleged maternal transgressions continued to haunt him. Regina resolved to eradicate the root of these rumors this time and informed Selma that she was about to become a new kind of trash. Later in the evening, in a secluded room, Regina anxiously awaited Aaron's arrival. She had meticulously arranged the setting to ensure their conversation remained private and away from prying ears. Scandals were bound to arise, but it seemed Aaron hadn't fully prepared himself for the encounter. If he chose to engage in a private meeting with the princess, unpleasant rumors were likely to spread. However, Regina knew that if he accepted her proposal, it would make it more interesting. Prior to her regression, Aaron had followed in the footsteps of Egil Vestine, attempting to block the barbarian invasion on the eastern border. Tragically, he had perished in the battle. Following Aaron's death, the Duke of Vestine and his wife had also met an untimely demise, almost as if it had been premeditated. She talked with Gisli Vestine, who felt like that there was a curse placed upon his family. But Gisli had died in the rebellion at the hands of Hermann. Regina was determined to break the cycle and protect those close to her. Finally, Aaron arrived, and the maid swiftly arranged sweets and tea before departing, leaving the two alone. Regina expressed her gratitude for his acceptance of the invitation. Aaron was not particularly adept at initiating conversations, but his presence did not irk Regina. In fact, his face was rather pleasant to look at, and she couldn't help but wonder if he disliked those who beat around the bush. Aaron confirmed her suspicion, attributing it to people who had much to hide and lacked his trust. It was the longest sentence he had spoken thus far. Regina wasted no time in getting to the point. She revealed her desire to break off her engagement, withholding her other motives for the time being. Although Aaron's face didn't betray his surprise, Regina knew he was taken aback. Breaking off the engagement wasn't enough, she wanted him to become her lover, though only in name. It would be a contractual relationship, and Aaron naturally questioned what he would gain from such an arrangement. Regina explained that, given his numerous suitors and the never-ending stream of marriage proposals, her mere association would provide him with an excellent shield. However, Aaron felt that the deal was unbalanced and primarily favored Regina. Unperturbed, she revealed that she had issued the request as an order, leaving him with no room to refuse. The next day, Regina devised a plan to create a club dedicated to their well-being and discipline. Realizing the potential harm a wooden sword could cause, she decided to fashion a club instead, a perfect size made of darkon wood, complete with a hand strap. As Regina turned around, she noticed Selma slumped over the shoulder of her knight, Johann Dreif. Judging by Johann's expression, Regina could tell that he had developed feelings for her. Quickly realizing that his emotions were betrayed by his expression, she urged him to control himself. She then revealed that everyone in their group, except for Selma, was aware of his affection for her. Selma, on the other hand, vented her frustrations to Una, questioning what had driven Regina to become so infatuated. Johann Dreif, who had become Regina's knight, had fallen in love with Selma at first sight, carrying his unrequited love with him to his grave. Their 11-year age gap, combined with the fact that Selma had returned to her house as a widow, made their situation complicated. It seemed that Selma either failed to notice Johann's feelings or chose to ignore them before her regression. Despite Selma's disapproving glare, Regina complimented Una's skill in tea brewing, which earned her a scolding from Selma, who believed it was not the time for such enjoyment. However, Regina brushed it off, attributing Selma's reaction to her energetic nature. Johann found the scene amusing and commented on how Regina had changed. Curious, Regina inquired if Johann had any issues with following her. Johann assured her that he would faithfully carry out his master's will, prompting Selma to scream as well. He also mentioned that the lady was always on guard whenever he heard the name of Her Highness. Intrigued, Regina asked about the identity of the lady, to which Johann revealed that it was a nickname for Jessie, who had lived as a girl until the age of 5 due to a household tradition. The tradition held that if one lived as a girl, they would be protected from the malevolent intentions of witches. Jessie's pretty appearance even as he grew older led to the nickname sticking. Regina pondered if Jessie was truly as attractive as the other handsome boys surrounding him. As his beauty didn't stand out as much, but compared to Aaron and Thur, it was lacking. She then recollected her conversation with Aaron. When she propositioned him to become her pretend lover, he accepted and inquired about her future plans. Regina explained that she intended to portray herself as a lovesick princess, obsessively clinging to Aaron in a one-sided manner. She wanted him to behave naturally around her and eventually appear to reluctantly accept her advances. She even contemplated the possibility of an engagement. When Aaron asked if she had no intention of marriage, Regina simply stated that she didn't want to ruin her life. She felt burdened enough by her own family and had no desire to live with anyone else. Aaron agreed to the charade. And she assured him that she would never genuinely fall in love with him. With her decision made, Regina planned to execute a grand gesture that no one would expect. She entrusted Selma with a letter to deliver to Silvage, containing instructions to find a partner for Herman for their upcoming birthday. Selma was taken aback by this revelation. Additionally, Regina handed another letter to Una, instructing her to deliver it to the Vestine household. This letter indicated Regina's intention to visit the Vestine household. The sudden announcement of her visit on the same day was a deliberate move to announce her arrival dramatically as the trashy princess as one had to notify it days before. Regina's visit to the Vestine household held significance due to 2 incidents that occurred during Thur's 11th birthday banquet in her past life. Firstly, Thur had gotten drunk, causing harm to the soldiers with his blade dance, and even his fiancée had fainted. Secondly, there had been an assassination attempt on the emperor. Although Thur's behavior was problematic, Regina considered it preferable to being a pushover. In her previous life, her brother had betrayed the empire by giving away its assets and the imperial seal to traitors. While Regina managed to retrieve the seal, it was too late to undo the damage. She was determined not to repeat that mistake. She had discovered the method to create an antidote and aimed to prevent the poisoning. The core ingredient for the antidote was fresh dandelion flowers, which happened to be grown in the Duchess of Vestine's garden. Thankfully, it wasn't Silvage's specialty. Regina intended to discuss her plans with Aaron while acquiring the flowers. Upon their arrival at the Vestine household, Gisli Vestine, the eldest son, greeted Regina in his father's absence. She exchanged pleasantries with Gisli, hoping to win the favor of the Vestine family for the imperial family's cause. Gisli's presence reminded her of their shared past. Once inside the mansion, Regina explained her purpose of visiting, to obtain dandelion flowers. She expressed her desire to maintain proper etiquette despite the informal nature of her visit. As the door opened, Aaron made his entrance and greeted her. Observing his training attire, Regina playfully remarked that it was a crime to walk around like that even within their own home. She sought Gisli's permission, the acting head of the house, for Aaron to escort her without delay. As they departed, Gisli went to make arrangements for the servants to transport the flowers. Barbara Vestine, considered the most beautiful person in the empire and known as the Rose of the Empire, explained the remarkable beauty of the Vestine household. Indeed, Aaron was the perfect match for her plans. As they strolled through the garden, Regina marveled at its beauty, knowing that the Duchess had cultivated it herself. She inquired about Barbara's well-being, and Aaron assured her that she was doing much better now. To ensure the confidentiality of their conversation, Regina shared her plan of action with Aaron and requested him to be her partner for their birthday celebration, the perfect occasion to make a dazzling impact. Their plan included Aaron asking her for a dance once her and his fiancé had finished theirs. The mere rumor of such an interaction would stir up talk and slightly wound Herman's pride. Regina also intended to publicly announce the dissolution of her engagement. As Regina spoke about her future plans, she lost her footing and began to fall, but Aaron swiftly caught her by the hip. In that moment, they found themselves locked in a gaze, resembling a couple deeply connected. As they tumbled to the ground, Aaron unintentionally landed on top of Regina. Concerned for her well-being, he asked if she was okay. Regina replied that her heart was in pain, as if it were about to burst. She urged Aaron to get off her, and he complied, relieved to see that she was safe. Regina saw this as the perfect opportunity to act as if nothing had happened, but Aaron remarked that he was already accustomed to such incidents. She requested that he forget about the fall and continued explaining their plan. Aaron was to remain passive when she publicly announced the dissolution of their engagement. Regina felt a strange irritation whenever Aaron was around, and she couldn't understand why. It was a new sensation that had only surfaced after her regression, and she wondered why these embarrassing moments seemed to be increasing. However, she considered it advantageous for her current situation. They decided to proceed with their plan after collecting the dandelion flowers. But Aaron mentioned that the servants had not yet arrived. Regina revealed a pot and shovel and asked Aaron if he could handle the task. She instructed him to search for large flowers, emphasizing her desire for revenge. Once they gathered the flowers, Regina left to carry out the next phase of her plan. Gisli, Aaron's brother, asked him about what had transpired. Aaron explained that he had been invited to the imperial prince's birthday celebration, and to Gisli's surprise, he already had a partner. Though Aaron didn't confirm it was Regina, Gisli deduced her identity and wondered what she was thinking. Known as the imperial princess outside the emperor's circle, Regina's current appearance was quite different. Gisli pondered the reason behind her sudden change. But he knew Aaron wouldn't provide an answer. He marveled at his brother's audacity in confidently entering the situation. Despite the short notice, they should treat Regina with utmost perfection. Aaron mentioned that he didn't want to keep the princess waiting. When Gisli pressed for the truth, Aaron admitted that it was simply too burdensome. Gisli felt a sense of shame at his brother's response, knowing that Aaron's life motto was to utilize everything at his disposal to aid others. Aaron explained that Regina would become the most beautiful woman in the empire during her coming-of-age ceremony, but he wasn't concerned about her appearance. Gisli found this response to be somewhat annoying. Although Aaron was relieved that Gisli wouldn't hate him, he found that even more bothersome. He understood his brother's concern about hinting that Regina already had a fiancé and telling him to maintain a distance from her. After all, Regina had instructed him to act as he usually would, and he saw no difficulty in doing so this time. The following morning, Regina processed the leaves she had obtained in the kitchen, much to the concern of the chef. Assuring him of her knife skills, she prepared a drink using an excessive amount of dandelion roots. The chef warned her that it was not suitable for consumption. But Regina insisted that it was beneficial for the body and contained no poison. Despite the root's intense bitterness, she believed it was better than being poisoned and dying. Selma asked about the purpose of the drink, and Regina explained that it was beneficial to have before meals. When Selma inquired whose meals she was referring to, Regina revealed it was for the emperor and her little brother. They found the situation akin to poisoning. Regina reassured them that she had prepared it using detoxifying silver utensils, ensuring that no one would suspect anything. Strangely, the witch's tear that had killed the emperor didn't harm females, though the exact reason remained undisclosed. Discovering the antidote had been a result of several coincidences aligning. Regina acknowledged the lack of sufficient information but concluded it wasn't a problem since she wouldn't be consuming the drink. Just as a servant entered to announce breakfast, he was shocked by the sight before them. Regina hastily collected the unappetizing liquid and made her way to the dining hall, leaving the worried maids and chef behind. She greeted the emperor and placed the bowl on the table, prompting his curiosity. Regina encouraged him to drink it before the meal, assuring him of its health benefits. Both the emperor and the prince questioned the validity of her claim. Knowing there was no poison, the emperor didn't want to disappoint her and took a sip. The taste was so terrible that he felt his tongue would disintegrate. When Regina turned to the she found him nervously scanning the hall, searching for his Love and Justice Club, which had been specially made for him not long ago. She poured him the same drink and urged him to consume it. Unwilling to subject himself to the unpleasant taste, the hastily fled the dining hall. Regina didn't bother to chase after him, knowing he would soon face the consequences. Seeing the emperor still struggling with the drink, she reminded him that it would taste even worse once it cooled down. It was a tea she had prepared with utmost sincerity since dawn. Upon hearing this, the emperor drank the entire cup in one go. Regina couldn't help but wonder if there was anyone else in the world who would drink something like that, but she had found her answer. As the emperor finished, she preferred having a light meal in the morning and asked the emperor to drink it again tomorrow. Selma would bring it to him daily from now on. The emperor was taken aback by the request. Regina explained that anything beneficial for one's health should be consumed regularly. She left the hall, instructing Una to bring the club, as it was time to administer the medicinal tea to her little brother, a mission she successfully accomplished. While taking a bath, Selma informed Regina that the prince had handed down punishment to those who spread the rumors. It had taken longer than expected because they needed to ensure the culprits were guilty before expelling them from the capital. However, the punishment was milder than Regina had anticipated. Selma found it to be a good punishment that would make them reflect on their mistakes. Regina urged her to ensure that all preparations were flawless, emphasizing the significance of the upcoming banquet. Selma didn't understand why Regina wanted to impersonate the prince, but she trusted her judgment, as Regina had never made a wrong decision, even from a young age. Regina expressed her concern about keeping alcohol away from her. Though his birthday was still far off, Selma assured her not to worry too much. Regina insisted that it was worth worrying about and stressed that they must never come into contact with champagne. If they couldn't prevent it, they should buy as much time as possible and call for her. She inquired about Herman's partner, who was the young lady of the Viscount, Anita Vadis. Anita's family had tragically died, and she was taken in by Duke Silvage. Selma claimed there was no special relationship between them, but she knew the truth. Regina was finally going to meet her fiancé and the occultist, Anita, who had destroyed the empire. They had stolen money from the imperial family using Herman's authority as her fiancé. Dissolving her engagement would be her grand and extravagant declaration of war against them. Subscribe to witness whether Princess Regina succeeds in thwarting the assassination attempt on the emperor and her subsequent struggles to save the Elias Empire.